To this special Money Monday episode. Hope y'all are doing well this week. It is, I guess, spring break for a lot of folks here across the country. I know it is here in Austin, Texas, because all the kids are out this morning riding their bikes and doing other things here when they should be at school. So it's obviously spring break here where I'm at. Today's episode, I want to talk about some things, and it's something that I see a lot of. I think it's something that we all deal with. Everybody deals with this, no matter where you're at in your journey, your path, your experience. What am I talking about? I'm talking about mind games, especially money mind games. And so, one of the things that I really enjoy, I'm a big sports fan, right? And I got the Boston Red Sox hat on. It was a dream to go to Fenway Park and see a game there. And I was able to go there and see the Yankees versus Red Sox last year at Fenway Park. Both teams struggling, bottom of the AL East division last year, but it was still a dream to be there at Fenway Park. And anybody knows I'm a baseball fan, and been to 22, 23 of the parks across the country. I hope to finish that off in the next year or two by hitting the outlying games. But one of the things that I see a lot of, and I really enjoy this, where we live in Austin, we live near a high school, in the high school baseball field, and a lot of times in the morning I'll be walking, and the baseball field, especially the baseball and the softball fields, kind of fence up with where our living community. So a lot of times I'll be walking in the morning, there'll be a baseball. Some kid hit it out overnight, hit it out of the park or like that, and there's baseball. So I got like this bucket of baseballs. And I'm like, at nights, the light comes on, I can hear the music, the fans, like, you know what? I love baseball. Let's just go. So this year I've been going to softball games, watching the girls softball, then also baseball games. And it's always enjoyable seeing kids that really get into it, the trash talking, from the bench, the noise making. It really brings me back to when I was a kid, because I loved baseball. I was great at football, and football is what got me noticed, but I loved baseball, and I was okay at baseball, right? I was okay at baseball. I was fast. I could steal bases. I was an okay first baseman. I was an okay outfielder. I had a decent batting average, but I didn't crack the starting lineup. Let's just put it that way. I lettered my freshman year, my sophomore year, and then my senior year. I lettered my junior year, but I was recovering from an Easter. But what I wanted to get at is baseball is a lot like real estate investing. We've all got different parts, and baseball is truly a team game where you're not penalized for sacrificing yourself. That's one of the great things I love about baseball is, if you're sacrificing yourself and butting the ball to advance the runners, it doesn't hurt your average, right? And what's great is the high school's got a couple really good players. They got a good pitcher. Our baseball team here, I guess, is one of the best in the districts, which is surprising, which is great. The softball, the girls softball is they're pretty good. They've won some games, they lost some games. They got a really good pitcher who hit back-to-back home runs in a couple games this year, and she's signed to go play college somewhere. But what I like watching is I like watching the mental games there too. Okay, like the mind games. And you can see kids that are confident in themselves. They go up to the plate, boom, they do well. The kids that aren't confident, they struggle. It's a mind game thing. And of course, a lot of it comes with experience and repetition. And the more reps you do, the better you'll be. What's interesting is you can see some of the people, and in some of these games where the games they've lost, especially the girls, came from mental errors. It came from a throwing error where the girl got the ball, went to throw it and hesitated and then went through it and it was all out. It was too late, or just errors. And I see a lot of that all across every type of aspect. Now, I love sports. We saw mental mind game really where, and why I'm wearing the Red Sox hat this today is that for years, 100 plus years, the Red Sox didn't win anything, right? The Yankees dominated them until the Red Sox finally got their game rights with that series where they came back from 3 down to win in 7 and then win the World Series down. You could say the Red Sox are actually better than the Yankees. They weren't last year. Both were in the bottom. But I'm saying in the last 10 years, the Yankees have not won as much as the Red Sox has in going to the World Series, which is great for Boston fans and stuff like that. I am a big fan of David Ortiz, who's a great example of this. Is David Ortiz couldn't hit a curveball. He was originally drafted by my favorite team, the Twins, but they let him go because he didn't have his mind right. He couldn't hit right. He had a big gaping hole in what he could hit. But when he went to Boston, He learned how to hit. He had a mind coach, probably better coaching and stuff like that. And he became one of the most dominant hitters to this day. Minnesota Twins fans still regret that the fact that David Ortiz had all the success at Boston and didn't have it for the Twins. Now, if you guys have been watching Netflix, there's a couple series that I've watched, binged the last couple of weeks that I really enjoy. I'm sure Steph's ready for me to watch something besides sports or stuff like that. But there's a couple ones. There's the Formula One racing called F1 Drive to Survive. There's also was a really great one by NASCAR. I can't remember what the name was by NASCAR. That was it's like a 10 episode series that highlights drivers. This is the second season for NASCAR. It's the second season for F1 racing, in the sixth season for NASCAR. And then they've also got another one that I just finished this weekend called Full Swing, which is on the PGA Tour. Here's the thing that I love watching about it. They don't show a lot about the golf. It's not a lot watching the cars do a lot of left turns, stuff like that. I really enjoy the mind game aspect of it. And you have, when we talk about these one at a time. So F1, Formula One, most competitive racing in the world. 20 cars, 21 races. And you really see what's great is that all these cars and all these teams are spending millions of dollars each race. You've got the Red Bull Racing, which was the runner-up to Mercedes for 7 or 8 years. Alexander Hamilton won 7 championships in a row for Mercedes, and Red Bull was on the outside. Well, the year before, Red Bull busted through, and Max Verstappen won the championship like in the last race, and then they repeated last year. And last year's results is like Red Bull Racing won 95% of the races. I think what Max Verstappen won like 19 races, unheard of. Now, yes, there's some difference in the cars that they drive. There's obviously some cars are better than the other ones, more money into it, they fix some stuff up. But what's amazing is that Max Verstappen didn't start at from the pole every time. There were some races he started back in like 10th, 12th, stuff like that. And things happen. But what's great is I love the profiling of the drivers and talking to the drivers, because here's the thing. You can, by what they do, and of course it's edited for TV, so don't hold me to this, but what you can see is those that are mentally strong versus those that aren't mentally strong, those that embrace the coaching side of it, them embracing becoming not only fit, because it does take intense athleticism to drive a car in 120-degree heat in Abu Dhabi desert at middle of the night and stuff like that. Same thing with like NASCAR. You've got to be in great physical shape in the heats of these cars, put in going around in the physical aversion and have your mind right. But what you see is that you see those that are mentally strong and those that are mentally weak. Okay. You see drivers that are doing phenomenal because they're listening. You can hear the conversations between them and their coaches, the spotters and stuff like that, and the crew chiefs. And you can hear them, people that find excuses. Oh, I can't do that. I couldn't do that. I gave it my best. Well, did you really give it your best when you came in consistently 20th place? No, not really. You've got to push things. And you see things from the better drivers. And a great example is that with Alexander Hamilton. Great driver, amazing driver from Mercedes, won 7 championships in a row. And his success has dipped off the last 2 years. But when you watch these shows, you see something different. You see his mental attitude changing. As you've heard the term stinking thinking, right? His mental attitude has changed, how he talks, how he carries himself. He's complaining more. That's not a good thing. That when you hear that, you can see the team ownerships cringe. And you can see this stuff. And the reason I like listening to that stuff, you can see these guys that have all the money behind them, all of the physical skills to get at the top of the game, top 20, top 25 drivers that are competing. And there is the difference between those that are mentally strong and those that have stinking thinking. And you've got to realize that we are often our biggest hurdle in finding the success that we want. That's the same thing with like NASCAR. NASCAR has a series of 6 seasons. Very interesting. There's a lot of mental gymnastics going on there with some of the different things, but it's interesting. And I want to bring up like one of the guys that they featured last year in season 5, Bubba Wallace. And Bubba Wallace drives for the Denny Hamlin, Michael Jordan team. What is it, 2311 team? And Denny Hamlin, if you don't know him, he's a driver also. He drives for FedEx Racing, drives for Joe Gibbs. Joe Gibbs, the ex-head coach of the Washington Redskins, 3 three, NFL championships. I hate the Redskins, but I enjoy Joe Gibbs racing, or Joe Gibbs, because I'm a Cowboys fan, obviously. There's a mental gymnastics there for you, how the Cowboys have folded the last few years. But anyway, listening to Bubba Wallace talk, it's always like, oh, it just happened again. Reason I didn't win this week is because something, just karma. I'm like, you can hear his thinking, you can hear him talking, you can see his demeanor, how you carry himself. And I think he's all the talent in the world. I think he's the only African American driver around NASCAR, and that comes with obviously other things, especially with all the socioeconomic things that have happened in the last couple of years. But still, he's got all the talent in the world. But it seems that you can see things, especially with Michael Jordan being team owner, you can see a difference in how you carry yourself, what you say, how when something goes wrong, how you give into it. And that's the thing that you have to overcome. And like I said, just wrapped up this second season of Full Swing. And I think you guys are seeing the difference. In you can have all the talent in the world, but if your mind is not in the right spot, it's going to suck. And there's two golfers that highlighted this season. It was really good. One guy, I can't remember his name. He won last year, became famous. I think he took off the shirt at the Waste Management owner and chug a beer. And this season, his season has just been shit. Okay, just been horrible. And you see it when he hits the ball. He's not really training that much. He's not playing golf. He's enjoying being a new father, which is great, and being a husband. But his wife's like, you got to change. Even his caddy, his lifelong friend, is like, look, you got to get your head checked. Otherwise, what are we doing here? We're just showing up and going through getting our ass kicked every week because you're just going through the motions, and that's not fun. Going through the motions is not fun. Can we agree to that, ladies and gentlemen? And there's another guy who came out, who won the amateur championship when he came out of college at Oregon State. Can't remember his name right now, but he won a Masters this last year. And the same thing. He had all this talent, all this stuff in the world, but when something would go wrong, you could hear him talk himself, dropping the F-bombs. Oh, you're horrible. You play like shit. You're stink it up. And one bad shot would lead to two bad shots and three bad shots. And then if you're, have one bad hole, then you're really out of it for a round. And one of the things that changed is he started seeing a head shrink. He started seeing a coach to talk to him about his mental game. And it got to the point where in these competitive crunch time situations, instead of him sitting over the putt and feeling nervous and stressed out, he saw that would start happening, and he started changing his tone. I can do this. He started using the tools that his head coach, his lady named Julia, gave him tools, so that now, instead when he's standing over a putt and he's all stressed about it, he's now confident. He's making a lot more. And guess what? He's winning more. I think he won two. He won one golf tournament last year, which was like $3.5 million. Then he won the Masters, which is another $3.5 million. But he said it was the mind aspect of things. And you can see that on the opposite side. One guy who's not coaching, doesn't want to talk to a shrink or, a sports coach or anything like that, mind game coach, his game just going off the deep end. And he has all the talent in the world, but if he doesn't have his head right, and that's really, we see this in investing. Religiously, we see this as real estate investment. I got a buddy out of Chicago, a smart guy, Ben, smart guy, so smart. I mean, he's so intelligent. He used to work in high-tech stuff, like he traveled 17 years. He got out of that because he started doing real estate investing and started doing subject to deals where he's taking over property, either subject to financing or doing a lease option. Well, the reason from his coach, I understand, he didn't want to take over the mortgages. He just wanted to do like a sandwich lease. Like, I'll lease a property from you and I'll turn around and lease it. Well, he's had a couple things of bad luck where tenants left, they trashed the house, they stole the AC, and he's like, I'm getting out of real estate. I'm like, well, why don't you just, why are you getting out of real estate? All right. I mean, we're all going to be in real estate long term. What could you have done differently? He's not learning his lessons. He's letting the fact that he's limited on what he do, not taking a step to take over the mortgage subject to take over he wants to do the same as lease aspect of it without having, I can walk away. Well, you're not committed. Hence why it's hard for you to stay committed in a lot of cases. And I had a phone call from a mortgage broker guy about a week ago. And he's wanting to get in the note business. And he tells me, yeah, I've been a loan officer for a while, but that's drying up. And I'm a pretty bright guy. I think I can figure this out. And I'm like, okay, well, it's probably best if you get educated. Yes, there's a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of things you're missing here. You're not buying the real estate, you're buying the note. And I can see the mind game aspect. Well, I don't need that. I'm like, well, you really do need to get a class, because what you're going to learn in 3 days is going to help you save you from 6 months or a year of making mistakes when you get out there. And it's just funny, the mind game. And when I ask questions of people, I always listen to how they answer that, or what are they doing, or what are they trying to accomplish. And we've all got that. I mean, let's face it, I deal with mind games. There's days I feel great and I'm all rock and roll. Days I'm in just a FUD, I'm just a dud for the day, and what you have to realize is you're going to go through those things. You have peaks and valleys emotionally, mentally, and part of it is being mentally trained, playing mind games with yourself to get out of that. Don't allow that stinking thinking to sit in. Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. Nobody wants to talk to me. Banks don't want to sell to me. The investor doesn't want to deal with me. And that's the thing you got to realize. I got to give a big shout out to John Veronica Gore, who they're in the process of raising capital. And one thing he's like, oh, I got 2 investor meetings. I'm like, I'm sure you're going to do great. You got your pitch deck. You've bought 20 deals with your own funds. Guess what? And this is the number one thing that came to me from a coach. Guess what? The worst thing has already happened. What do you mean by that? The worst thing has already happened. When you go meet with these investors, guess what? What's the worst thing that's come out? They don't invest with you. Well, that's already happened. They're already not investing with you. So if you approach it from that mindset, hey, the worst thing has already happened. They're not going to invest in me. Let's take it from the point, well, let's get them to talk about investing with me. Because if they don't invest in me, guess what? It already isn't happening. There's no reason to be disappointed about it. And that's what I always laugh about. People like, well, what if this happens? And what if this happens? Well, what if this does happen? What if you do find success? What if you do make an offer and they accept with you? What if you do send out postcards and letters? You get investors that call me. You've got to take that step to get beyond that chaotic aspect. I've got another investor who's great at marketing. He's doing all the things. He's coachable. He's bought some performing notes. But his biggest mind block is that talking one-on-one to investors. And he's got some great marketing now. He said people opt into his QR code and get on his list. And I'm like, well, have you picked up the phone and called those 4 people or those 8 people? He's like, no, I haven't done that. I'm like, why not? They've literally already said they like your postcard, they like your information, and they've opted into your database. You don't need 1 million people to raise $1 million in private capital. You've got 8 people there that have said they're interested. And those 8 people we know came from self-directed IRA leads, because that's the only way they would have gotten that postcard and that QR code. And he's like, okay. And then he called one guy, and the guy's got like $250,000 at least. I said, would you call the rest? No, I haven't called the rest. Why not? And I love them, but this is the thing. We all deal with it. I don't want to call. I'm scared. The 1,000-pound phone. The great thing about note investing that's different than most is you're not alone. And that's one thing that so many of us have gone to so many real estate clubs and taken so many workshops. It's often, this is how you do it. This is how you do this. This is how you go fix the property. This is how you go rehab. And that's the difference. Is many people they think the idea of rehabbing a property is they're the ones going up, painting, carpet, hiring some contractors to do some stuff they can't do, but then mowing the lawn and listing it and property management. And I get that from people too. Well, I want to talk to the borrowers. Like, no, you don't. You're not an expert at this. Okay. You don't need that. You have teammates, attorneys, servicing companies that do most of the heavy lifting. That's where all the work is done. That's where the money is made. You're not an expert in that. Guess what? You've got teammates to do that for $25 to $95 a month. Okay. If you got to foreclose, you got an attorney that's going to charge you $1,000 to $3,000 to foreclose, whatever. You got to realize that taking a step and get outside your comfort zone is the only way you're going to grow as an entrepreneur. It's the same thing going back to sports. The only way you're going to hit more runs or win more races or strike more people out is to show up and realize that you can do it. And you're not going to be 100%. Okay. You're going to get hit. You're going to take some lumps on the chin. You're going to have some deals that go great, and others deals that go south. The idea is to get back up and keep rocking and rolling. Okay. A few years ago, I got hit on the chin hard. Had some deals that went south that we really worked hard to fix and overcome and go that route. And they're not all things are going to end up exactly as you like them to. But you know what you do? You get back up off the mat, you dust yourself off, and you go make more offers. You go make things work. You make more offers. You go make things happen. You make more phone calls. You post more things. You just keep rolling. Okay. Because let's face it, there's plenty of trolls, plenty of haters out there for things like that. We all have them. It doesn't matter who you are. You're going to have people that just dislike you for the color of your skin or the race that you are or the sex that you are, or what you say, what you look like. People are just going to hate you because they hate you. All right. And I know it's hard when you're starting off. We often don't have as thick a skin as we need. The things that make more sense or come to our attention more is that negative Nancy's. You can't do it. You're not smart enough. You're not good. What are you doing? You know, that's stupid. Oh, you're horrible, whatever. And it's easy to listen to those people, but you have to realize most of those people are minuscule, and it's such a small percentage of the overwhelming population in your database. In a lot of cases, focus on helping those that want help, and those that are negative Nancy's, just kick them, unsubscribe them, say move on, block them as best you can, and keep moving on. And I know that's not the easiest thing, but in today's world, you got to quit playing money mind games with yourself, because your mind games is costing you money. Your mind games are stopping you from either raising capital, making more offers, or taking next step as an entrepreneur investor and doing bigger things, raising more capital, getting out, making more offers, closing more deals. And sometimes it's good just not knowing. You know, there's people there. How'd you do 50 deals in a year when I haven't done one? Well, that guy or that gal probably did 50 deals because they had got a strong mind game. They didn't know that they couldn't do 50. Nobody was sitting there telling them that they couldn't close on that many deals in a year. They just went out and did it, and they rinsed and repeated the deal and making things happen. And so I've been very lucky. I've got some great coaches. I still talk to one of my head football coaches, linebacker coach when I was in high school. I had some really great coaches in college that helped me get things. I've had some really great coaches and entrepreneurs. You know, I've taken, the Tony Robbins stuff. I've, had Greg Reed mentor me. Les Brown, you got to be hungry. There's a lot of other folks out there that we reach out to on a regular basis. And, look, life is not perfect. It's not going to be perfect. If you are only doing something to be perfect at it, guess what? You're going to be very disappointed very quickly. And if you're waiting for that perfect deal, that perfect opportunity as an entrepreneur, you're going to be just sitting here waiting, twiddling your thumbs. I had one student one time, a guy who he wouldn't do a deal unless it was the perfect deal. And I'm like, I got a deal for you here. The house is worth about 100. You can pick up the note for 40. 88 is what's owed on it. It's already in the foreclosure process. Halfway through the foreclosure, you might have 6 months or less to foreclose, but it's in great condition. This is a slam dunk foreclosure. Oh, no, it doesn't make it. No. I want to be a perfect deal. What's not perfect about this? If you're not going to buy this, I'm going to buy it. And sure enough, he wouldn't do the deal. And it was like that. It was always do it. I throw a second one, a third one. Oh, it's not, those aren't perfect. What do you mean they're not perfect? This one's going to be a 20% cash and cash return. This one's going to be a $50,000 payday. You've just got to buy the note and then put the systems and work behind you. And eventually it got to the point after the third no, I'm like, listen, then you're not coachable. I appreciate it, but I don't want you. You are more frustrating to work with. I want to help you, but you're not listening to my coaching. You're not listening to it. You're letting your mind game stop you from taking the steps. And I see this, people not afraid to make an offer. I've got some students who've been around for years, have never made an offer on stuff. I keep giving them lists of deals. They don't make an offer. And that always drives me just bonkers, because I want people closing deals. You're not beholden. The way I teach, you're not beholden to me for deals, but I'll show you how to go find deals. You just have to go do the work to go out and make some things happen. But if you're not going to do that, what are you doing? What are you wasting your time here for? If you've invested time and energy and money into something, but you're not pulling the trigger, not pulling, making offers or getting out there, and you keep coming up this imaginary force field that's stopping you from going through, you got to break through that and realize it's not worse. Fear is false evidence appearing real. We've all heard that before, right? But what are you going to do to achieve success? Because what you've done, we all can agree with, what you've done in the past is not where you want to be, or what you're doing right now. If you're not at the level of success, making offers, closing deals, raising capital, whatever it is, it's not anybody else's fault except your own. Because you're at the position you're at today because of the decisions you made along the way. Okay. Now, like some of these guys and athletes, they've gone a long way because they've practiced, they've had money behind them, they've gotten to, but when they get to the top of the level and they got to do things better, their mind gets in the way. A great example is this Johnny Manziel, the quarterback for Texas A&M, Heisman Trophy Award winner, amazing kid. But guess what? His mind game was way off. That's why he didn't play. He, didn't play in the league. And he got drafted by the Cleveland Browns. And his mind, and one thing that was always amazing, they're talking about his 30 for 30 special. And I love these documentaries. They talk about his coaches when they got his tablet back when you're an NFL player, or even college these days, they give you a tablet these days to go watch film on your competition. So you're more aware of situations happening, right? Because things are going to happen. So you're more coachable. His tablet had 0 hours watched. He didn't watch anything else. He's too busy flying to Vegas for the weekend because I'm Johnny Money, baby, Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football. Well, you're in the NFL. You're not Johnny Football anymore. You've got to evolve your mind. And that's one of the great things that I love about guys and gals that overcome things. It's not always the most talented that succeeds. It's those that believe in themselves, that have faith, and those that show up that have a strong mind. I mean, I've got people that have been with me for 3-4 years now, and I'm still like, have you sent an email out, blast out to your database yet? No, I have not. I'm like, what are you waiting for? What is that big mind block that's stopping you from sending an email or getting a CRM and sending out on a regular basis? Well, I've got to wait on this. Well, quit waiting. Quit waiting for this perfect scenario. The perfect scenario already exists, and it's you sending an email out this week. They're sending an email out next week. Guess what? Your first email is going to suck. It's not going to be perfect. We have to quit waiting for the perfect storm, because the perfect storm isn't going to show up. You already have the skills and talent to accomplish anything you want to do. You just have to have that mind block removed. You've got to have the mental fortitude to overcome your fear of false evidence appearing real, to take action when you didn't take action in the past. And that's honestly, that is all that separates those from the haves and the have-nots. The haves have overcome their fears, okay? Every time I've spoken on stage, okay? Every time I go and speak, people always say, well, Scott, you're not scared. I'm scared shitless when I get on stage, okay? I've spoken in front of some large audiences from 100 people to thousands of people, okay? And I always get nervous before I go on stage, but it's a good feeling. Some people get that nervous and they run and vomit and they run the other opposite way. That's fine. Me, I would like, I know I'm smart enough. I know I'm good enough, and doggone, people here are going to learn something from me today. Okay. I had a friend of mine reach out, and she's speaking at a real estate conference. Was it this last weekend? And she's like, somebody came up to her because she's young. She's in her just about to turn 30, but she looks young. And they said, what do you say to somebody comes up to you, you can't teach me anything based on your age? And I said, well, here's the thing. That person that is coming to listen to you speak, it's no surprise that what you're going to cover, right? She's like, yeah. Literally on the website and the room, it talks about that subject matter. And she's speaking about podcasting. And I'm like, if somebody came up to you and said, what can you teach me? You're so young. Well, you got to realize that, hey, you may have all the experience in A, which I don't in A, but you're lacking in B, and you're here to learn about B. Well, guess what? I've got years of experience in B. So if you want to evolve and learn, unless you believe that an old dog can't learn new tricks, then fine. If you don't think I can teach anything, please leave. Don't waste your time. Don't waste my time. But if you really want to learn and evolve, then I'm going to give you something to learn. Don't worry about my age, because I've got more experience in B than you do. If I want to learn more about A, guess what? I would come to you. But you don't have this in B. So sit down and shut up, or don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Okay. And that's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, you have to stand up for yourself. Nobody is going to show up for you. You have to believe in yourself first and foremost to get things done. And I know that's the hardest thing, is taking those first steps. I know the hardest thing is making those first offers. I know the hardest thing is sitting on a blast and posting things. But here's the thing. If you really are honest with yourself and look at the actions you've taken, the offers you've made, or the marketing that you're doing, and are honest with yourself, am I doing what I need to be doing? If you are, then you're going to start seeing success if you do that. But let's face it, are you? I know I could be doing more. And that's the thing. We like to let things get in our way. So distraction. Maybe it's Netflix. Maybe it's gardening. It's the beautiful weather. And that's okay. It's okay to go do those things. If you get a job, it's great. You got to take care of work, whatever your job is. You got to go do that. I get it. But if you got to realize, we often, if you're not working, the amount of success is directly related to the amount of effort we put into it. If you're not happy with where you're at, not happy with the money you're making, guess what? It's from a lack of effort. Now, it could be one of two things. If you're overwhelmed and other things are doing, that's one thing. But most of the time, it's from B, the lack of belief that leads us to know I can't do that. I'm not good enough. Nobody wants to talk to me. I'm gonna go do something else instead. And that's your decision, your choice. You don't have anybody to blame except yourself. Okay. All of these athletes that are the best, most athletically and skilled, over half of them fail out because they have bad mindset or they're surrounded by bad people. Okay. You have to be willing to say no to things, to say yes to long-term success. If you're not willing to do that, then guess what? Be happy at where you're at. And that's the thing I see about these things. You see people that are taking it seriously. They're working with people. They're constantly coaching themselves, working on their games, working on themselves, working on their mind, because there's different types of stress. Those that keep working, they find a way to overcome those obstacles and achieve things that only a few people are worthy of. And that's the case, ladies and gentlemen. And I mean, that was, I would probably say I'm a bigger Yankees fan than I'm a Red Sox fan when it comes to stuff. But the Red Sox has been the most recent game park I've been to. Besides that, it was the Twins earlier this last year. Big fan of the Twins. But that's the thing, is you look at people on the team, they're accomplishing things, and the teams that achieve success are the ones that believe in themselves. They believe that they can overcome obstacles, and they're the most mentally strong in getting things done. And that's why if you look at all the people in the Hall of Fame, no matter what sports, Major League Baseball, the NFL, one thing you will never find is a mental idiot there. All right. Mental idiots don't last in the league long. All right. You've got to realize you got to be mentally adapt, sharp to make things happen. And that's the same thing when it comes to real estate investing. Be sharp, overcome your limiting beliefs when it comes to mindset. Surround yourself with like-minded individuals that are strong. And if you surround yourself with strong people, guess what? You will find yourself mentally strong because you'll see other people lifting you up, and you're an average of the 5 people you surround yourself with most. You've all heard that, right? Same things. If you're struggling, surround yourself with better people. Start talking to other people. Start reaching out to people that are where you want to be. And I guarantee that people that are successful are glad to help out in any form or fashion. They're willing to help coach you. They're willing to help give you the counsel, not advice. Advice is like assholes. Everybody has one. Doesn't mean it's good. But counsel is what you want to need. You want to achieve and ask for. Somebody who's been where you're at, or is where you want to go. Talk to them. Talk to those individuals. Ask them what they do when they struggle with things, and they'll tell you. They just get her done. And that's the aspect. If you want to go from making, $50,000 a year and $100,000 a year, or from $100,000 to $250,000 to $500,000, this is what has to change. Your mindset. You've got to grow mentally into a millionaire before you ever get there. Otherwise, you're just going to lose it all. And that's why all these lottery winners, millions of dollars, they lost all because guess what? They're mentally nincompoops. All right. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys today in this episode is the mindset, the money mind games we play with ourselves. And for a lot of us, if your mind is strong, guess what? Your money will be more. But for us where it's weak, your money will be weak because you will talk yourself out of deals or taking action that will help you find and accomplish things that you've never accomplished before. So go out, take some action, everybody. Please take some action, and we'll see you at the top.